Christmas, everybody. It is horror movie night, and we are talking about a movie that I think I've been pitching since the very first Christmas episode of Horror Movie Night. We're finally here. I'm so excited. Rewatched this morning. Big ass smile on my face.
Christmas morning.
Feeders 2, Sleigh Bells, 1998. And let's go with a quick history real quick before we dive into this.
Please.
So let's just very quickly talk about the directors and feeders in general, right? So we have, and I have no clue how to pronounce this name, so I'm going to just go swing for the fences.
There's no drinking game for this, so you'll be fine.
The Polianini brothers is what I'm going to go with.
Sure. That's where I buy my bread.
Yeah, perfect. Mark and John. In 1987, they made a shot on VHS film called Splatter Farm that sold decently enough on VHS. But it was their movie feeders that put them on the map because Blockbuster Video was the official distributor in an attempt to cash in on the popularity of Independence Day. And it became the #1 independent film rental of 1996.
What an incredible honor.
Yeah.
What an incredible feat.
They then went on to collaborate. They went on to collaborate with John McBride on feeders, who had done Cannibal
Hometown Hero, Go Connecticut.
Yeah, he did Cannibal Campout. And then they made enough money from that Blockbuster deal that they just funded over 40 films.
What?
Some of their notable
because
titles...
they cost $5,000 a piece.
Yeah. Some of their notable titles included...
Oh, I'm sorry. Feeders 2 is $500, not $5,000.
Include movies like Muckman, the Amityville Death House, the Amityville Exorcism, the Amityville Island, the Shark Encounters of the Third Kind, and my favorite of all their titles, Noah's Shark.
Noah's Shark fucks. Noah's Shark is great. Highly recommend. Now they got that sweet Tubi deal. Yeah. I think everything that you listed is on Tubi.
The brother John unfortunately died in 2008, but Mark has continued to make and release movies, including in 2022, Feeders 3, The Last Meal.
Bring it back, baby. An honor.
So this movie, like any good shot on VHS sequel, spends at least 5 minutes just recapping and showing you old archival footage for the people who didn't. If you were one of the very few people who didn't help this become the #1 most rented independent feature at Blockbuster in 1996, you got caught up on what happened in that first.
Oh, so nice they did it twice. They had sort of like this ominous intro version of it, and then they're like, "Oh no, yes, if you thought that was a recap, you're correct. Here's 10 more minutes of John McBride."
And they still didn't even make it to 90
movie.
minutes. Like
this movie is 72 minutes long, and at least 12 minutes is footage from the first Feeders movie. But you do get to see what is my favorite moment in the first Feeders film, which is, of course, the green screen decapitated head that the feeder is eating laying on the ground.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Where it looks like it's coming out of it. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
This movie, to me, is phenomenal this is your weird ass movie night main event. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you end the night on, because every second of this movie, we've talked about this before, that there are certain movies that have this level of badness where every element is inept. The actors can't act. The special effects don't exist. The script is barely there, but you can tell that they think that they got something here. Like, I really do believe that they're trying to make a passable movie, and nothing shines brighter in this film to me than the soundtrack of a Casio keyboard playing your favorite Christmas songs, like "Oh Christmas Tree" or "Joy to the World," or the most on the nose one, "Amazing Grace," when we meet a priest character.
As we know, all priests Christmas Eve sit at the window and read their Bibles. They're not busy.
That's not Christmas
with
Eve.
Anything else.
That's literally every night. You cannot tell me that every priest in the world right now, as we're recording this, is cracking open a fresh Bible having
That's
some
how that priest in the
communion
Sentinel
wine.
died. He's just up in the attic, just reading his Bible out the window.
And then,
What else are they gonna do? They can't have sex.
Speaking of the priest scene specifically, the music shifts, and it's definitely so that you're prepared for him to get eaten by feeders, but it shifts just as he starts to walk into the basement. And there was a part of me that was like, in any other movie, you'd find some real fucked up shit in this basement where you'd be like, all right, cool, we're ready for this priest to die. Because the music is like dark and ominous in such a different way.
Also not a church basement at all.
Yeah, and why is there like a
Kyle,
hole?
are you telling me that that they didn't shoot on location for all this? Like he wasn't in an office building when he was at work?
It's almost like I'm like, he's dead. He's already dead. Like, I don't need to be saying this shit. But
so the thing about it is that I want to
rough.
believe that that basement that they shot the quote unquote office scene in is that just the other side of the same basement? Is it all in the same house?
I am positive that they never left this actor's home for anything.
Yeah.
Well, so
it's his own children playing the children in the movie. Like
I had to say that too. It's so funny to me that like those kids didn't even have to act because they just called their dad Daddy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that
the
one
dad
girl's
is the director.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the other thing is that the daughter totally phoning it in. Not giving any effort with any line of dialogue.
She's like, Dad again?
Yeah, but
like,
the
how many
son,
movies has she been in?
The son is gleefully shouting out every line of dialogue that's being
But
fed
that's
to him.
worse. It's worse because
It
at
is.
least she seems like a realistic child, and he seems like a caricature of a child.
Yeah.
I just the two
He
lines that I
always,
wrote
you can
down.
see him looking off screen for approval, like right at the last like 2 frames of each shot that he's in. He's just like, did I right? Did I do it right?
I wrote down 2 of their lines. The one is when they see the feeder across the street, and she goes, "I think that's an elf," and he goes, "I don't want an elf, I wasn't saying it."
Yeah, he sounds drunk.
And then the other line is when he just yells, "When's Santa gonna get here?" Like he's just like,
yeah, that's great.
Oh my
The
god,
audio peaks and everything.
And I kind of appreciate that also in the flashback. You get to see that the alien effects somehow got shittier by the sequel.
Absolutely worse.
There was 2 alien fabricators. Two people made those aliens. And I watched it with Carly last night. She just goes, two people.
Yeah, here's the thing about this movie is that it's fucking terrible. It is
awful.
unwatchable. Don't listen to Matt. The only
correct.
joy you will find if you watch this is by discussing it with other people who also sat through it.
That's why I say it's a perfect like weird ass movie night. This is
right, but
this is
I
a
didn't
group
have
watching.
that
I know.
opportunity.
I was
You
alone in my
subjected
bed watching
me-
this today, man.
But this
Like,
wasn't your first watch, Matthew.
This was probably, honestly, God, this was probably my 5th or 6th watch of this movie.
I hate you.
There is something wrong with you. So, a couple things. First of all, as terrible as this movie is, it really does have plural feeders in it, right?
Yes.
There are
Which
2
might
of
come
them.
into play when we do double features.
Exactly, because there's another Christmas horror movie that is very shitty, but is obviously one of my favorites, where they did not have the plural of the monster. But here's the thing about the feeders. First issue that I have beyond anything before we even roll tape is the fact that this movie is called Feeders 2. It should have just been Feeders, but instead of having it be Feeders, it should have had a 2 in the place of one of the E's, preferably the third one. So it would have been Feed 2 R's, Feeders. It would have been so sick. It would have been so 1998.
Yeah.
And it's been bothering me for a week. Also, I have no one to blame but myself for the fact that we discussed this because I was hardlined. We're not ever going to do Feeders 2. And then Matt just caught me on a good day. I was in a good mood.
He did.
And
really
I was
did.
like, sure. And I really feel like that was a mistake on my part.
I don't know.
You
I think
couldn't
we're gonna
have
have a fun episode out of it anyway.
You are.
I
Kyle,
heard a noise. What's
what are
that
you-
sound?
I'm gonna make this episode even more fun for me.
Yeah.
So because there's a special appearance we haven't even gotten into the special cameo here, a character cameo in Feeders 2 Sleigh Bells. But also I'll just spoil it. I got Santa Claus. It's an imperial stout
Perfect.
with cinnamon buns.
Ooh, cinnamon
also,
buns.
Yes, from Fat Orange Cat in Connecticut. It's really great. But I saw you sipping on something too.
I have
Yes,
a
the
Mad Elf because it was the only thing I could think of for how I really these are Harlequin baby aliens. They have no skin and their eyes.
They are so
look like-
wiry.
yeah, and
They're-
so I wish that there was like a Harlequin named beer that I could have found, but there wasn't. And I wasn't about to go make extra effort for this because fuck this movie.
No. Why should you
this
make
was- this
effort?
is
The
a-
directors didn't.
No, they made a lot of effort. They just
so-
didn't spend any money.
Yeah. So listen, guys, if you're going to Google, make sure you Google Feeders 2 to see these aliens, and you will see what are literally just like foam balls with the eyes and the eyes and mouth basically just like Mr. Potato headed onto them.
You know what?
like,
No.
just-
You know what those eyes are? Those are basically semi-melted candy hearts. They look like they're just bad candy. And when I was
they're ice cream like gumdrop
ice cream eyes,
eyeballs from
yes,
ice cream
exactly.
cream
Thank
bars.
you. That's better than the cinnamon hearts. But here's the thing about how terrible these feeder aliens look, is that when I saw the head for the first time and it cranes around a little bit and the rubber of the neck kind of twists, I thought to myself, I remembered this. When I was a child, we would go to a family friend's house for a holiday party every Christmas time. Well, it'd be like
and all the kids would
first or
gather
second.
around the TV and
There
watch Feeders 2 Sleigh Bells.
Close. We would gather around the craft table and we would make crafts while the parents got fucking wasted on eggnog, right? And then drive us home because that's safe because it was the 80s. But anyway, the only time of the year that I would ever see those styrofoam balls that were about the size of a golf ball, which are literally what they used for those feeders' heads, was at the annual Christmas party. And I'm thinking to myself,
even the
like,
design
I
falls
could have
into
made
Christmas
them.
time. Yeah, maybe
Should
you
we
did.
make feeders for Creature Feature Weekend?
Ooh, the 10 people that know what it is will love it.
I don't know, man. I could easily do that. I just don't think I should.
Well, no,
we'd
we
be
didn't
in
spend our
Feeders
time
area. It was
doing
all
any of
shot
that.
in like that area of Pennsylvania.
All right,
Yeah,
listeners,
oh, shit,
sound off.
maybe.
Do we need to make commemorative feeders for our table
Yeah.
at Creature Feature Weekend? It will be actually
They'll have
on
little
420.
T-shirts that say feeders and then I hardly knowers on the back. So we could really make it an H&M product.
So I do need to give a shout out to the best actor in this entire movie, which is of course the family dog. Every time that it's a close up of that dog's face, he's giving the exact emotion that dog is supposed to be giving.
Exactly.
He looks scared.
Exactly.
He looks
The emotion
like
is I'm going to
defensive.
get hit or I want a cookie. Like, it's all it is.
Do you think that, speaking of animals, though, I want to reflect on the cat briefly. Because
Oh, do you think that they really killed a cat for that top
Well,
notch?
the hair seemed like he might have cut it from his wife's head and then dipped it in blood.
Cat was
and
safe,
threw it at a
wife was
cardboard
not.
box.
Yeah, just a couple. It was the tiniest bit of hair just hitting this box, and then this this awful torn up cat effect where it's like I don't even know.
I don't know how they did it. Let me tell you something. Having seen Noah's Shark, and I mean I can make it a fair assumption that even though technology gets better and they're able to do more things, the level and intensity and effort and money put into the effects that they do in their later films is comparable to what they've done here in Feeders 2. It's this, like, the overlays are the same, like the overlays and the effects that they're able to get for like a UFO versus a shark in Noah's Shark are
Kyle,
exactly the same.
Why
it's
would
crazy to me.
Why would you break what's already working?
I mean, they know what works.
Like-
Absolutely. And
Have you
again, like
guys-
if they're doing the Tubi deal, if they have 40 films on Tubi, they're able, like they're also doing the equivalent of what they were making probably on the Blockbuster deal. Maybe not like in exponential, but like the ratio
same-
and what they've made in their output on Tubi is able to finance and equal what they're like. It is honestly a beautiful, perfect, independent science full of films that I do not enjoy. Even that's coming from me. I don't like. Even though I said Noah Sharp, I take that back.
So I do want to hit a couple notes here that I have written down. Mostly lines of dialogue. A couple lines of dialogue that come from the actress playing his wife. The most insane random moment in this movie for me is pretty early on, where she yells at her kids as they're wrestling, "Maybe Santa will bring you some sanity for Christmas," and then just a loud fart noise happens.
Yes.
No real rhyme or reason to it.
It's just because that kid's butt was in the frame, and I think they just wanted to throw a fart noise in there. And that kid, if that's his director's son, embarrassment for life. Dude.
The rest of his life, terrible dad there. And then there's another another moment where they're playing music. The audio mix in this movie is so bad, where like any sound effects or any music overpowers anything that's happening dialogue-wise. And there's a scene where I am confident that he told her to just go in and say something. And he's like, the music, we won't even keep it in there. And she just very monotone says like, "Hey kids, how about cartoon?"
Yes. That scene. That was definitely the mom's best line.
But we have to talk about, if the kid's given 100% in this movie, the actor that they brought in to play his boss is giving 110%.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, worth the price of admission.
He just, "Merry Christmas, you son of a bitch." It's like one of
what do aliens have to do with insurance claims anyway?
And then he yells, "I hate Christmas." And then he goes, "Don't worry, boss, I'll finish this up before I head home." And he goes, "You asshole, you better." And then he walks out, and it's shot where you know that they shot those in completely different places because it's a very big close-up on the boss's face.
That dude, I wonder if that dude was just like a truly local Pennsylvania. I mean, yes, I know he was, but
1,000% he was.
But the local actor who was like, "This is it," like Feeders 2, like it's already an established.
Now it's
already an established franchise.
Yeah, this is fantastic for me. I'm gonna get in on this.
I feel
his
like
warehouse manager. No.
Yeah. I feel like the best part about this movie isn't the movie itself, but rather the fact that it is so terrible that it puts into perspective other zero budget film.
This is the late 90s version of like a Birdemic. You know what I mean? Like they are on the exact same plane in my mind of like no budget for special effects, no real direction being given to these actors.
Yeah.
Case in point, the fact that the director is the star of the movie and apparently his whole family is the cast. So it's just that's why like the dude, what was his name? John from Cannibal Campout seems to be the only person that's like kind of an actor in this movie, and his scenes are all flashbacks and something that he probably filmed that himself and sent it to these guys. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think that it feels like, honestly, that feels like a filmmaker's collaboration, because John McBride was up here as far as I know, he was up here in Connecticut doing his own shot on video stuff. So there is this world and there's this interesting collaboration, probably maybe brought together by like a Blockbuster or like the sort of the buzz of like being able to do cheap properties and sell them out. Like this is there's the VHS boom that we've talked about of like studios and Full Moon and things like that being able to like put their movies on the shelf and make a ton of money. This is like a weird second wave, if not third wave version of that happens. And also filmmakers making the cheapest versions of these things. Like it's just really, I don't know. It's a fascinating little microcosm of independent filmmaking, shot on video stuff particularly. But like this New England like team up is really odd. It's really, really odd.
Super odd. But then it's like there's these elements.
And he was the best actor. John McBride was the best actor. 100%. In the whole damn thing.
But there's also these elements of like they accidentally do something good. Like one of the notes that I wrote it down jokingly, but I said, I love that German expressionism as she walks down the stairs to get Fluffy the cat. It's literally just that they had to put a camera in a specific angle to shoot the scene. Yeah. But it's also weirdly the most well-shot moment in the whole movie from like a camera placement thing, because everything else is just like, here is the tripod pointed directly at you.
That actor wasn't so bad either. She seemed like she was having a phone conversation.
Yeah, I believed every second of that phone call.
Nobody talks like that on the phone, like she didn't pull it away from her ear at all. It was very odd. So I think that the highlight of the movie, the actual movie for me, is actually when the feeders see the Christmas tree and they are just perplexed. Yeah. That's the best part of the movie.
Yeah. There was a great shot there with the feeder's head in the reflection of the ornament. Yeah. That actually was killer.
We have to. You already mentioned it a little bit, but the real life Santa Claus shows up at one point in this movie where the feeders attack him. But the thing that makes me laugh so hard is the quick cutting between actor with fighting fake puppets and then them just like waving a toy down as it's crashing to the ground. And then Santa shows up packing some heat.
Oh, the sleigh. Yeah, the sleigh was great. I'm so glad they showed it twice.
Yes. Oh, you had to make sure.
Because you didn't get to see it the first time.
No, I was like, is that what I think it is? It is. It was very nice.
But then we get to this ending, and it's all a dream ending. I wrote, this is one of the more meaner notes I've written about an actress in a movie, and it's not really about her. It's about the lack of direction. But I said his wife is just always standing there looking like Napoleon Dynamite. Just
she really is.
Like just awkward. Looks like she doesn't know what to do if she's not saying her lines of dialogue.
How did she get in this? Okay, so that is confusing to me as well. So literally everybody in this dude's family except for his wife signed on for this. I mean, I guess the kids couldn't say no, but the wife signed off on the kids being in it, but she was like, he was probably like, do you want to play the wife in it? And she was like, no.
No, I don't want to be seen kissing you in this movie.
Exactly. It's crazy. Like, that woman was the one who said yes, Yep.
Yo, but listen, she's been in a lot of things that these dudes have done.
Yeah.
Like Peter Rottentail, she was a voice, Bad Magic, Nightcrawlers.
Are you reading off these names like we've supposed to have seen them?
I want to believe he's not even reading them. I think he's just remembering it from his own past of watching their movies.
Wonder where. So Amityville Island 2020, she's just credited as a voice on the phone. So who is this woman in relation?
It must just be a friend of the family or something like that. Maybe. Like,
it's just
who knows?
It's just like call up I'll call up Aunt Maria. She'll do it. Or your cousin Maria will absolutely lend her voice to this.
I do have to say, I love the very last shot. I love the alien bursting out of the box jump scare. I think it's well done. I always forget that that's how it ends because I'm like, oh yeah, there's gonna be something in that box that makes him realize it wasn't all a dream after all. But I forget that it's literally an alien exploding out of the box.
This movie is also insert city. Like if we actually measured the amount of just like inserts versus people talking or any other relevant information, I think it'd be half and half. I think it would be
almost
pretty
definitely
close.
But hey,
which made me realize I have those Lion King sheets, and I also had not anymore. I used to, and then I had that sleeping Santa, that snoring.
I had that sleeping Santa too.
I was so happy to see it again. Yeah. It was great.
Look, guys,
are
here's
you a
the
sleeping
other big
Santa?
benefit.
Or are you just happy to see me?
That's not a belly. That's
look, Scott. This was win-win because you got all of Feeder's 2 sleigh bells, and you got the only reason to watch the first Feeders. So there's no reason for me to ever pick it. It's gone. I'm done with.
Have you watched Feeders 3 yet, Matt?
No, but I didn't know it existed until today while researching it. So
I watched the trailer. Carly and I watched the trailer too immediately after. Bad. That's what I was gonna pay. That's my double feature. Is just the trailer for Feeders.
Nice.
So Kyle, let me ask you a quick question. Oh, both of you guys. So this one, Alien special effects took a major dip down. Are they still at Feeders 2 level? Did they go lower? Or
they actually kept them the same. They remade the Feeders to look the exact same. And the weirdest part about that is that on IMDb there was a review that said that the trilogy is great because of the fact that they made that it was tight, like the story was tight, not in like a that was tight, but rather in like a that was tight writing, which blows my mind. Because
I mean, tight in the sense that there was like maybe pretty minimal
closure. is what I think that they were talking about. Yes, I mean the tightest thing about this are the shots because it's literally 30% people's noses. The shots are like so tight on the people's faces.
The boss's face is the entire shot. He's
the entire frame.
frame.
Entire frame. And I loved looking at Homeboy's hair. It was so. Oh my god! When the hair dryer blew the fuse, I was like, "Yeah, no, this is 1998 for sure." I distinctly remember that happening.
Oh, I definitely had to run down to the fuse box on many occasions for my parents.
Yeah. I was like, "Damn, some things don't change."
But hey, man, we gave this 27 minutes, which I think is more time than it took to write the script for Feeders 2. So, yeah, good work, guys.
So proud of us.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass to Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby.
So Matt, is this your pick? Are you?
I mean, this was kind of a group consensus.
It was Scott's pick for sure.
But I'll say that I spearheaded this effort.
So, Matt, what's your double feature going to be?
Do I take it off the board right out the gate?
You can do whatever you want, my friend.
All right. Then, I mean, you have to watch Elves, which is like all of the reasons why I like this movie, but like way more enjoyable and palpable in Elves. Like the insanity is better. The creature effects are better. Like there's just a lot more to like in Elves. There's a lot more of a rewatchability to Elves. So yeah, Elves has got to be the double feature that you follow up Feeders 2 with.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, strictly due to the fact that 20% of that movie is just recycled from the first movie.
Scott, I don't know if you've watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 in a while. I would say it's the reverse. 20% of that movie is new
fresh
footage.
I was just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're going to watch 4 movies in a double feature?
Dude, it's only going to take me an hour and a half. What about you, Kyle?
I'm going to go, I'm not going to do holiday. I'm going to actually stick with our shot on video theme here, and I'm going to go with Things.
Boy.
It's not going to be a fun, I mean, it could be a fun night. I think it'd be a fun night. Things is so much the opposite end of the spectrum as far as like gore and creature, and like it's still not great, but it is just an interesting it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I had a backup written down in case someone went before me and got Elves first. That isn't holiday themed at all, but it is, I think, the next iteration of these types of movies, which is like the super low budget film that Blockbuster pushed harder than anywhere else, which is of course our personal favorite, Serial Insane Clown Killer. Like I feel like that's like that next evolution of like hyper low budget crap that only was able to get released because video stores existed, and as long as you put like a gnarly ass cover on it, like people were going to rent it. All right, well, before we dive into the final segment of the show, real quick, what's going on? I'm not going to sing it today. It's Christmas. But just another reminder, hit up our store. You can find it on hmnpodcast.com. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/HMN podcast, or just find us on all of our socials, HMN podcast on like Instagram, or just search Horror Movie Night Podcast to find our Facebook group. It's always bumping with dank ass memes and good chats. So now let's move into
those, though. I promise.
That's fine.
Hey, everybody, Synapse put out the Convent Blu-ray for $50.
Oh, Jesus.
Let everybody know.
You didn't see me post that, man?
I saw you post that they put it out. I didn't see the price on it.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't want to... I'm the one who posted that, and Kyle was like, God damn the price. Oh, well, you weren't the only person that posted that commented that. But I didn't respond because, in my shame, I think I spent at least $50 for the Steelbook 4K release of The Kindred.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you did. And I think that, like, if I had a little bit more time and emotion on my heart for The Convent, it's only been a few months since we've really fell in love. Like, I've not committed fully to the bit.
But I also wonder.
I'm just saying that I think it's a lot. I think it's a big ask for what I don't. I mean, I looked at the special features and I didn't think that it was worth the price tag.
No,
honestly,
but
I also don't know what the price tag is.
A lot of the time, it's also one of those things where you're like, all right, do I wait until like a year or two from now when they're doing like a Black Friday or Halloween sale? And then suddenly this $50 Blu-ray is like $12.99 plus shipping, and I'm like, I paid $12.99 for The Convent on Blu-ray.
Vinegar Syndrome has a couple of those that they put out for this Black Friday. Fatal Games, which is technically on Tubi, but just like a really bad transfer. But Fatal Games has been a slasher that like you just can't find, and even on the Black Friday sale, it's like $30. I don't know.
No, and I've gotten to that point where if it's over 20. Yeah. Especially if it's over 20 at a discounted price, I'm just like, nope, I don't need it.
I mean, and I understand why these companies do it. They're boutique. They're like, it takes a lot of money and effort to do it. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad price for it. I just can't. I can't
justify it.
Yeah,
but maybe if all of you sign up for the Patreon.
Then we can
have everything he wants.
All right, so let's do the final segment here. Anybody got anything they're excited to talk about on what they watched? I'd love to be right in the middle if possible on this.
I'll bounce off of the Convent convo. I watched The Nun on Max.
Oh, nice!
Because I was not about to like rent it, but that and The Nun 2 dropped. And they were right on the splash page when I opened it up, and I was like, I mean, it's a religious horror movie that's based in the past. It can't be that bad. It was so fun. It was
I've heard
stupid,
a lot of
but
people
it's so
say
fun.
that the Nun movies are shockingly enjoyable.
I mean, I have, and the thing is that I have not finished The Nun 2. I don't know if we need a second Nun movie, but it is also based in the past, which is, I mean, I love historical horror. Obviously, I mean, I hate to say historical. Let's call it period horror, and I always get a kick out of it because I love costumes. I just thought that the first one was like unnecessarily entertaining. I had very low expectations, and it really just satisfied what I was in the mood for at that moment. I can't promise that everybody will like it, but I had an absolute blast watching it.
Let me ask you this quick question, Scott. It's a 2018 release, so in like 5 years, would you even consider it as worthy of a horror movie night watching, or not that fun? Not that level of fun, I mean, just enjoyable.
We had a blast talking about
Feeders 2, Sleigh Bells, I know.
No.
Slow your roll, Matthew. Do not gaslight us into thinking that this was fun. Okay? This was a job, Matt.
What was the one with the tooth? Not the tooth fairy. The one with the doll, the porcelain dolls, and she like took their tongues. Matt,
Dead Silence. Dead Silence fucking rips.
I hated Dead Silence when I watched it back in the day, and then we discussed it on the show, and I have a newfound appreciation for it. So, I mean, give me 5 years, and I'll watch The Nun a second time, and I may feel like we could get. I mean, like right now, I don't know. It needs to marinate, but I'd say in 5 years.
I think that's why the 10-year rule is great. Because it really,
the 10-year rule is great.
I did write down like all the movies that are turning 10 horror films, and not that I think every single one of them we should do. That'll be a Patreon bonus feature. Side note, listeners. But like a few of these, I'm like, you know what? Now that it's been 10 years, I am curious enough to be like, maybe we should revisit that one soon. Whereas like 5 years ago, I would have been like, never, ever, ever, absolutely not. There's no reason for us to talk about this.
Yeah. I mean, there are so few movies that have come out recently that I'm like, I cannot wait until it's old enough for us to do. I mean, Ready or Not is top of my list. Movies that
especially because I don't think we really, that probably one of the biggest misses at the time that we were doing in theaters now episodes.
I had no idea it was going to be that good.
yeah, like, so also, guys, I think Scott, Kyle, and I have like kicked this around enough, but we're going to see now that like both COVID and writers' strikes are done. Maybe in 2024 you'll get one or two like in theaters or streaming now episodes.
I would like to. I think this podcast is very helpful for me, like forcing myself to do a thing. Yeah, you know, like I've said this on the podcast. Like, this is the only time I choose to / get to sometimes watch a thing. Thanks for Feeders too. But Kyle,
listen. Think about the things that we've had to watch on your behalf too before you.
Matt.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry that I made you watch Feeders too. I could have brought some real bangers like Humongous out here.
You've never really given me that much shit. So I will. I'll take that. I'll take that feedback into 2024, and maybe readjust my Trello editions. But we'll see. But no, I would love to be going to the theater more.
Yes, perfect.
You know, I was gonna start this and say that I saw Thanksgiving. I didn't. I didn't see Thanksgiving either. Didn't watch that either. I've done unfortunately nothing. I've just daydreamed about watching things.
I really have. And everyone's loving Thanksgiving so much that I want to, but every single theater trip in my brain now I know that all of us get this from different experiences in our life, but dear Lord, the freelance lifestyle, it's like, it's not a 90-minute movie. It's a 20-minute drive. It's sitting through a bunch of trailers. It's then the 90-minute movie. It's the 20-minute drive home. And then that's like 3 hours of work I could have been getting done. I'm
the same way,
gone.
and I'm not even a freelancer, dude. Like, I have
it's
so
like,
many
unless it's
projects.
a home run, it needs to be a fucking home run that's worthy of my time. And it sounds like Thanksgiving actually was, but anyway.
Well, Barbie was only a home run for me because I got to spend that time watching it with my wife. Yeah, and we both absolutely loved it. I'm not going to subject Megan to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I've definitely the only times I've gone to the theaters, I think there was one solo trip all 2023.
Yeah.
It's been either dates with the girlfriend or dates with like catching up with friends that are like, oh, let's go see this movie. I'll do mine really quick. Despite Scott's dislike, Brian strongly recommended checking out the Chucky series. I watched the first 2 seasons so far. It's fine. It's better. It's more background noise than holding my attention level of television.
Sure.
There is a really fun episode called Death in Denial, which is a murder mystery episode where Chucky barely shows up for the entire episode. It's actually a non-binary actor or playing both Glenn and Glenda, like they're doing like the split screen trick.
Oh, cool.
In human form, visiting Jennifer Tilly, which is Tiffany possessing the actual Jennifer Tilly's body, which was established in the Seed of Chucky movie. So it's all of these celebrities coming for Jennifer Tilly's birthday party, and it's like Joey Pants and like all these other like B-movie actors. And then the waiter dies, and it turns into like an Agatha Christie murder mystery, but it's less of a murder mystery because 3 of your main characters are serial killers, but everybody else at the party isn't aware of that. Like, it's just very fun. And then something that might not mean anything to Scott, but to Kyle, the end of the episode, which is the minorest of spoilers, but this delighted me, is then Chucky shows up and he's hosting a TV show called Chuck. And he's like, well, that was a confusing episode, and there's still some loose ends, so I'm bringing out Chucky superfan, WWE superstar Liv Morgan to help me break this down. And, like, the actual Liv Morgan shows up, and he, like, fills in the gaps in the episodes, and he's like, but there's something that's really missing in this episode, Liv. And she's like, what is that? And he's like, you know, what's the point of us having the MA, like the mature audience rating, if I don't get to use my 10 qualified fucks that I'm allowed to say in this show and I kill somebody in a brutal manner? And she's like, oh, that is a shame. And then it cuts to a real life YouTube interview that Liv Morgan did like 2 years ago, where she's like, if I could be in any movie, I just want to be a victim to Chucky. Like, I don't want to be the leading lady. I'd love to be killed by Chucky. And then he just keeps stabbing her while screaming fuck over and over again until he says it 10 times. And then the credits roll. And I was like, this is so insanely fourth wall meta craziness. But
good for
it was fun enough. I liked it enough. I'll watch the third season. I'm sure when the fourth season inevitably comes out, I'll like try my best to keep up with it. But it's fine. But like, there are people who fucking love it, and I get why they love it, because it talks a lot about gender identity, and it really, I mean, it's tackling some pretty deep issues. And I would never want to take that away from other people. But if you love Child's Play, why not give it a shot? Like, you're either going to love it or you're not. But that's fine. That's what life is all about.
I feel like there's enough like iterations of Chucky that if you stick, like, I don't know what Chucky could do that you wouldn't like if you like Chucky anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's,
if that makes sense. I mean,
it's,
like,
it's
we talk about Leatherface a lot, but there's like a lot of there's a lot of things that Leatherface does that maybe is not dope.
And I feel like Child's Play, the entire Child's Play franchise and the Chucky franchise falls in this very unique category of being like one of the only movie series that I can think of. It would be like that and maybe Friday the 13th, where it would make sense for us to, throughout the whole run of this show, be able to cover all of the movies. Because there's not like there's no like Halloween from 1978 or like 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street or Wes Craven's New Nightmare in that franchise. Like, they are all these like just on the borderline of like B movie. Just happens like Child's Play and Friday the 13th are just like the happy birthday to me's that happen to be popular enough to warrant sequels. You know what I mean? Like, but by any other stretch of the imagination, they're just like another ripoff of a legitimately good slasher film that like started the franchise. But the Child's Play movies are just interesting in the way that you're kind of just see. I listened to a podcast about Nick Cage today, and they were talking about how, like, if you really focus in on every Nick Cage role and what was going on at the time that he was making it, it feels like a meta commentary on how Nick Cage sees himself as a celebrity. And I feel like you could look at that with Don Mancini with the Child's Play movies of, like, I feel like you're learning more and more about who Don Mancini is as a person with every single Child's Play project that he does.
It's nice when like a person's sort of vision, albeit whether it's of concern or like of if they're having a hard time or if they're actually, you know, creating in a safe way or whatever it might be. That sounds weird.
But Kyle, take us home. Take us home with something you watched.
Oh, I mean, this is going to prove more of an example of how slow I am, but I do want to say it because I've been really enjoying it. I'm on episode 4 of Fall of the House of Usher, and now you've known that I've been watching it. You know when I started it, and now you know where I'm at. And
You're at the halfway
point. Listen, like Flanagan loves a monologue. Like he loves a motherfucking monologue. But then, you know, I say that, and then at the end of the episode that had seemingly the most monologues, which I believe was at the time of me viewing it, it is episode 3 or 4. He didn't direct it. Like, obviously he created it and he's overshadowed. Like, his print is all over it, but he did not direct the one that had the most monologues. I'm really enjoying where things are going. I don't have a vast knowledge of Poe. I have sort of this, like, you know how, like, you can say Shakespeare and you kind of know like a handful of like major components of major Shakespeare things, and you can know that he exists. I kind of feel that way about Poe, where it's like, I know what the references are. I don't have to have a deep knowledge of the poem. I'm sure that if I had a deeper knowledge of what was happening, there would be something there for me, but it's not detracting from my enjoyment of the show. And I really am. I'm really enjoying the show. The thing about those monologues that I'm talking about, the actors are killer. There's nobody who is not giving 110% on those levels. It's
one of those shows where when you're watching it, it becomes very feasible that every actor could be nominated for every single like Emmy award for dramatic act. Like if it was like, if literally the best actor and best actress in a dramatic role category was just the entire cast of all of the House of the Usher, I'd be like, they earned it.
Yeah, I really wouldn't have much question.
Because like, how do you pick who's like the standout in it? Like they're all bringing like 110%, which I love that like horror shows just like since it's literally just comedy or drama, like any horror show just gets tossed into the best actor in a drama category if it's a horror show. Like,
yeah. But so I'm enjoying it. I'll let you know what the rest of the season feels like in February. So.
Yeah, no, I can't wait.
I might be able to finish it by then too.
Yeah. We'll just do a Patreon or any listeners really putting your bets. Who will finish Fall of the House of the Usher first, Scott or Kyle? And in the meantime,
Usher's going to be at the Super Bowl halftime show, by the way.
Oh,
speaking of ushers.
Nice.
Very important.
Yes, that is true. Usher will, in fact, be at the Super Bowl halftime show.
These are interceptions. that was just a ploy for me to do that joke.
This was our last episode that we had something to do with in 2023, but we've got one more episode voted on by all of you listeners on Black Friday, and I can't wait to flack that one out there for you. Kapow! And we will be back with more Horror Movie Night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.